Are you ready to go all in?
Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this.
And welcome to the All In Practice Growth Podcast. The podcast brings you a different perspective on the dental and medical industries. I'm your host, Shane McElroy, and I'm excited to have another AI episode for you today. Just a reminder that August 9th, we will be partnering with Bulletproof Dental Practices Summit and having an AI workshop specifically for dentistry. It's the first one of its kind. So the Bulletproof Dental Practice Summit will be August 7th and 8th, and they've extended and added a third day, which is also a standalone offering. So if you're interested in AI in any capacity, maybe you're dabbling, maybe you're curious, maybe you've kind of dove all in already, this is the place for you if you're in dentistry. We're going to cover so many different topics, and this is not really clinical. This is more operational and lifestyle. So you've heard a lot on the clinical side. We'll touch and on that a little bit, dip our toe into the water there, but really it's going to be the operational stuff that's really going to change and impact your practice, your life, get you time and revenue and all of that stuff. But I'm excited today. Our guest is going to be at this conference. And I've known this guy a while. He's the CEO and founder of Askable, which is an AI visibility company, right? So everybody knows about SEO and being found on Google, but everything's changing now. And so platforms like Perplexity and Claude and ChatGPT are becoming the new, for lack of a better term, search engine. And if you're not on those, it's kind of like not being on Google. The next few years are going to be real ugly for those businesses. So I'm really excited to see this guy because we also used to work together for years at BioHorizons Slang and Implants back in the day. So Michael Notbohm, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, brother. Excited to be here. Yeah, we've got quite the history, right?
We do have. It's a good history too. Sometimes when I have history, it's not always good, but how many years did we work together there?
You know, it's funny. I think I was there for 10, and I think maybe you started just before me, but I think you left before me as well. So probably like
8 or 9 years. So we were in the same region selling implants, which, by the way, shout out to Mike Mapstone, who was our boss and had to put up with these two assholes for so many years.
Not an easy task. Not an easy task.
Not an easy task. But we made him a lot of money and we sold a lot of implants. So it's easier to forgive them. But so dude, why don't you tell everybody, I know about you, but why don't you tell everybody kind of a little bit about your background and kind of how this all coalesced from, you know, you went to Auburn and then you got out. What'd you do after that? You got into implant sales, you've done real estate stuff, but now you've really dove into AI. So give everybody kind of the high level background on you.
Yeah, man. So, you know, obviously like I'm the forever entrepreneur, you know, and I think like the cool story with that is like most of them haven't worked. And so it's like, you know, and I think that that's a good, you know, thing just to be open and honest about, because like the entrepreneur journey is not an easy one. It's not for people with thin skin or, you know, just a low risk tolerance. So like,
it's a bipolar lifestyle, right?
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, like just when you think you've made it, then all of a sudden it's like something else happens. So, but I love it. You know, it's like, for me, it's what feeds me and what kind of gets me up in the morning and ready to go. And so, you know, I've had a variety of different businesses. You know, I fell into the medical device space, you know, with BioHorizons, and that was a great gig. There's no question about it. Oh, yeah. Great company, great people. But something was just kind of always missing. So I started to do some real estate stuff. And, you know, right out of college, my first job, I actually sold Yellow Pages. So if you remember, you know, you would get a Yellow Pages.
I almost did that. And I ended up with the worst first job. By the way, you got to do it right when it was dead.
Oh, I don't. Well, yeah, it was like like tinkering on death. And like, but I'm like 23, 24 years old. And it was essentially like, hey, there's unlimited income potential. All you got to do is just go sell this. So I'm like, okay. And I just remember all the old guys saying like, you know, you're never going to make it. This is tough. Like you wake up and 50 people tell you to go jump off a bridge. And you're like, okay, let's check it out. So you start getting those checks. And I'm like, dude, I was making like $26,000 a year at T-Mobile before this. And now I'm making $26,000 in a month. I'm like, this is crazy. And so I was like, you can tell me whatever you want to. All I need is one or two yeses. So that kind of like, you know, obviously you build a lot of thick skin by going through that process. You learn how to cold call. You learn how to actually do sales. But I learned a lot about marketing too, because the Yellow Pages went away. Yellowpages.com came.
And by the way, for all those who are under the age of 35, maybe even 40, Yellow Pages was the book where every business was, every phone number, address in there. It's shocking. A lot of people don't know about this, but that was like everything, right? If you weren't in there, nobody could find you, right? That was Google.
Yeah, when you got like attorneys paying like $3,000 a month back then for a full
Yeah.
page ad, and they're like the number 53rd full page ad. It's a crazy concept, but then the internet kind of started taking over. Yellowpages.com was one of the websites that we had bought, and right as that shift happened, I basically, that was 2008, so like everything kind of went to shit, and so I shifted gears and started just going down a totally different path from a sales perspective. And I regretted it because it's, like I don't regret BioHorizons, I don't regret, real estate, all that stuff, but it's like that was a pivotal moment in technology. And I
Yes.
chose to kind of go a different path, even though I had a good experience. So when all this AI stuff started happening, a good friend of mine was a software engineer for Salesforce for 15 years. He created like an AI voice receptionist. I think I even told you about it like a
Yeah.
year ago. And it's a super cool product. So I partnered with him for a little while, and it's just like it was a really hard thing to convince people that they needed. I think it's a cool product, but like a
Yes.
lot of business owners weren't quite ready to adopt it. I think as the models continue to get better and it's very difficult to tell, is this a real person or AI? It probably would be a different story. But
Well,
the
and by
amount,
the way, in the entrepreneur journey, there's so many stories I've heard and experienced, by the way, that you might have the right idea and you might have the right pitch. It's just a little early. And unless you have millions in the bank so that you can hold on and build up the brand awareness, like it could take years until that takes
yeah,
off. So I hear that story quite a bit of, you know, just a little early, a little early.
yeah. Well, and the technology is there, but for me, it was like 18 months of learning so much about AI from a
Yep.
guy who's actually, he's not the vibe coder that doesn't understand how to code. He's built the thing, and so learning from him and basically, just I was just a sponge for 18 months. And for me, what I've realized over the course of my life, starting, many businesses, some have done well, some have not done well. Product market fit is everything, right? So like
Yes.
your customer will tell you if it's a good product. If you've spoken to what you would think is your ideal customer and 50 of them have said, "Oh, that's a cool idea," and none of them have bought, it's probably not great product market fit. And so
Yep.
like I was wearing a lot of different hats, and one of them was marketing. And I'm like, well, we got to be found on ChatGPT, Google AI overviews. That's the
Yeah.
future. And so I went down the rabbit hole and just really learned everything that there was to know about it, and realized like almost no businesses know how to be found on it. Like I
No,
talk to
and
people every
it's
day and they're like, I have no idea.
yeah. Well, even the guys who know about like AI is such a all-encompassing term, right? Because just because you know about AI doesn't mean you know about AI search. Maybe you're good with AI. Like I primarily use AI for copywriting and I use it for graphics and I use it for video and I use it for editing and things like that. But that's a completely different thing and that's not going to necessarily help your business, right? And so
Right.
you can know about like man, if you're not on X every day, just like you better have an agent just scraping everything. You don't know what's coming out. But this one when you told me about this, I was so excited because I'm like, I talk to people about this every day. Everybody knows it's important, but they don't know what, to your point, what to do or how to do it. And
Yeah.
this to me is going to be the lifeblood being found on AI and all the platforms, right? Like marketing, in a sense, has gotten easier in content creation and easier to get your voice out there. But there's so many spots and things you have to do now that it is actually, in my opinion, harder than it was before.
Yeah.
It was simpler before, even though it was harder to do certain things. So, um, tell me a little bit about like where we're at right now, because it used to be just everything was Google search for years, right?
Yep.
SEO, SEO, SEO. What is happening with Google right now? What's happening with SEO? Because I've heard SEO is
Well,
dead, but I'm not sure
yeah,
if
so I
that's
don't
true.
think SEO is dead. Obviously you got to think Google, imagine how much data Google has, right? So like
Massive.
they're obviously pretty well positioned to adopt AI search, and they have. Their main revenue source is AdWords, and all of a sudden now you type in, "I'm looking for a dentist that places implants in Sarasota." The first thing that pops up is a Google AI overview. So they're prioritizing AI search even ahead of their paid revenue, which is AdWords. And that's just because they're seeing what I think everyone else is starting to realize is like people aren't really looking or searching for something now. They're actually having a conversation with AI and getting a
Correct.
recommendation. So it's kind of two totally different things. You used to even something as simple as like, hey, who's a good dentist in Tampa? Like that's where I'm at, right? Like you used to go through maybe the Google search, there's 6 or 7 blue links you're going to click on and go through, okay, this guy looks okay. Well, let me see if there's any reviews. Now you got to type in, well, this guy, I've narrowed it down to 3. Let's see what their reviews are. There's like 2 or 3 different steps. Okay, this is the guy I'm going to call. Now you talk to ChatGPT or Google AI overviews or Perplexity, et cetera, and you're like, hey, I just moved to Tampa. I need to set up a new dentist. I'm in this area and I really don't like going to the dentist. People have these long conversations. So it's not really keyword. You're not optimizing for a keyword. You're basically optimizing to be recommended when people are asking, specific things. And by having the right content on your site, you can do that, which is basically
And I
what I
think
do.
there's this weird thing where I catch myself doing it too. We kind of trust the AI, like from the get, right? Like, so if they recommend something at the top of their list, like I'm like, all right, that's the answer. Even though I know I should probably dig a little deeper, I don't, right? And so I got to think the average consumer is just like, well, AI knows everything. So the relevance of being at the top of that list, or usually it shows like if ChatGPT is going to show the top 3, that's a big freaking deal, man.
Yeah, but you hit it on the head. The reason you trust it is because you've used it for things and the
Yep.
result that it gave you was good, right? Like that's
Yes.
all they care about
Correct.
right now.
Yeah, you're right.
If they gave you a really shitty experience, then you'd be like, I'm not trusting this anymore.
He
And
doesn't
you'd
know
go
what it's
find
talking
something
about.
else. Which is why it's so important to understand like it's not just optimizing your website anymore. So I position like this, right? Like think of it as like a credit score.
Yep.
Your AI optimization is a credit score. Your AEO, which is the framework of your website, that's like how much money you have in the bank. And your AEIO, which is your authority, is basically what is your track record with creditors. The two
Yep.
of those combined kind of give you a credit score and how worthy you are to lend money or buy a house, whatever it is. So like that's kind of a good way to think of it. Like the stuff you can't control is your AEIO in terms of like you can't make somebody.
What does AEIO mean? There's so many acronyms now. It's crazy.
So it's basically artificial intelligence engine optimization. So in a nutshell, it's the authority that you have on on the internet. What do people think about you? What's your sentiment?
So like, is
Uh,
that a combination of like reviews on multiple platforms? Is that like
Directories like your
accreditations,
health
directories?
grade, like for dentists, like might be health grades, your Yelp, your Google small business review, your Google local
Sure.
maps, all of that stuff. So when they're giving you that answer in a matter of seconds, they're actually doing what we used to do, which is go to a few different websites, see who's good, check out their track record, figure out, okay, yeah, these guys actually do what you're wanting, and then they give it back to you. And it just happens in a matter of 2 or 3 seconds.
Well, let me ask you this. So like this episode will it surely freak some guys out, right? Some doctors out, some practice owners out. But that's probably a good thing. Sometimes you need to be freaked out because there's a wave coming. And with Google, if they make an update, you have 6 months, a year. This stuff is happening so dang fast. It's wild. So what would you kind of rank right now as like if I want to be found on AI searches and things like that, where would you start? Is it like reviews? Is it getting your like FAQs on your website? Like what's kind of if you had to rank it, like what's the most
Yeah.
important part of that?
So, I mean, I would say it's probably like a 60-40 split between your framework of your website being the 40% and 60% being the authority stuff because,
Hmm.
it's just like anything, right? Like, oh, I'm the best salesperson ever. I'm the
Sure.
greatest guy ever, right? Well, yeah, but then if somebody else says, hey, Mike is such a great salesperson, he's got a great company, that you're going to hold a lot more weight to that than me
It's
telling you how great I am.
validation,
So,
essentially.
yeah. And so, obviously, like the quick wins are AI loves frequently asked questions, right? So, like, if your site is set up in a way where you can just, even on your homepage, like at the bottom, add, here's the things that patients most commonly ask us, and add that as like a nicely well organized structure. There's also like the back end stuff that you don't visually see. So llm.txt file is going to basically allow the website to be crawled. The schema markup, there's a thing called JSON/LD. It's like some of the technical stuff that if you have a web guy, they'll know what that is. But
Sure.
almost no websites that we scrape have this set up. They're optimized for search engines, but it's totally different
So it's a whole
for
new ball game, right? So sorry to all you who spent thousands and thousands. It's still important on your
yeah.
SEO and your website, but there's other things that need to be done now, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like you have to disregard what you're doing SEO wise. I mean, they can work in unison because obviously a big part of SEO is your backlinks and building the
Sure.
reputation with credible backlinks, et
Yeah, and
cetera.
there's
So
overlap between the two without question.
yeah, but it's just a matter of like most of the websites that we scrape, and you can do a free scan on Askable.dev. Anyone can see what their visibility is. No credit card required or anything like that. So it's a good starting place because it'll give you an itemized list of here's all the things
Which,
that are on your
by
website
the way,
that you
before
need
you
to
go, I
improve.
want you to dive into this real quick. But by the way, I did this with you on a couple different sites. And this audit was really eye opening of like all the things you don't see. It's because you don't see it every day. And it's not necessarily on your screen. Like you said, it's on the back end. But a really like so let's just tell everybody real quick. If you want an audit, where do you go?
It's Askable.dev.
Okay, now break the audit down for me because I was really impressed with this.
Yeah, so there's, basically there's two different factors, your AEO and your AEIO. So we're going to break each one down and give you 7 factors on each of them. And it's things like your EEAT signals, your schema markup, how well structured you have frequently asked questions, et cetera. So like it'll give you an entire breakdown of what you can do. You could leave the free audit and just say, I've got an action plan. I don't need anything else. And if you want to do that, that's fine. The big
Sure.
value in what we're doing is there's not really like a Google Analytics for AI yet.
Nope.
So, and I'm sure it will come, right? Google Search Console, I'm sure they're working on it, but
Well, but my
there's
feeling is it'll probably be independent platforms doing it for their platform is how it'll be. As
probably,
opposed
yeah.
as opposed to a centralized version, which is kind of what you're doing.
Well, and right now you actually we go out and do manual queries. So you could, if you're a dentist in, Ohio, you could do, who's the best dentist in Cleveland, Ohio? Right? And
Yep.
then you can do it on Google and then you could do it on Perplexity. Okay, cool. Now let's try like a different variation. You could do that, or you could just have a visibility platform, basically take that off your plate, and we run those searches. We understand where the gap is between what you're currently, who's showing up, your competitors, why they're
Hmm.
showing up, what sources are being cited that are making them show up instead of you.
So
And
it's not
then
just you're looking at the person who's being audited. You're looking at the competition around them as well,
the
which is a
competition.
huge deal because you need to be better. It doesn't matter if you're as a dentist if you know your score's worse than somebody who's killing in Seattle and you're in Atlanta. You need to have your localized market be the best there. Kind of like with
Right.
SEO in the same sense.
And I know that it can be a little confusing because you could look at, a lot of people just look at their website, like, look at how great my website is. It's beautiful.
Sure.
It's got these videos. Like AI doesn't see that. They're just indexing the content, comparing it to your, reputation, authority, et cetera, and then recommending somebody. So you got to have it set up on the back end correctly, just as important as it is having it having
So
it
yeah,
look
because
good to
they
the consumer.
so basically on the back end explaining what the content is, the context of the content, who's the target audience of that content, all of that matters.
Right.
And I'd say you're right. Nobody really does that right now.
No.
Almost nobody.
Well, and so
So,
like that's the gap is that now you have this information, right? So it's like, okay,
mhm.
I know what people are searching now, and I'm not showing up, unfortunately. Now I know who's showing up, my competitors. Now I even know why they're showing up because we'll give you the sources of like, here's the directories that they're found on that you're not found on. You should add that. So now, but then it's like, well, how do I position myself to take over their spot, and that's
Yep.
where the content piece comes in. So all of the things people are searching for, we actually identify them, write content on it, triple validate it so it's not cross contaminated with other content on your site. In the medical space or dental space, it's run against regulatory guardrails, so they're not going to make outlandish claims that aren't true. And then it's posted and indexed. And I'm telling you, like the crawlers eat this content up because it's perfectly optimized.
And so the one thing is that I always worry about like some of the stuff I get out of like ChatGPT copy. It's set up, the
Yeah,
structure's obvious that it's AI and I have to work with it a ton, right, to get it there.
right.
How do you guys create this content? So they do an audit. They say, I want to work with you guys. I want to be found on AI. What would be the next step when you're working with somebody?
So, it's a pretty straightforward onboarding call because I mean, even the thing I sent you is essentially their dashboard that they would get. So
Mhm.
they'll have access to all these things. It's kind of like, when people buy courses, I always laugh because they're all excited for a minute and then they never log into the course. So
Yeah.
I'm fully aware that most people probably aren't going to be as excited about the dashboard as I am. But we send ongoing, updates and reports on the progress. But there's so much information there that they can use outside of just what we're going to be doing to optimize, like their sentiment score, the reviews. They can actually see like what are people saying. They can
Yep.
see and the thing that really kind of takes it another step is we have an AI mentions tracker now, so they can see what negative things were said about them that may
Ah.
not have been a review. It may have just been an actual AI chat somebody's having, and now that like, oh yeah, I love this doctor, but I'm telling you, Cindy at the front desk is just terrible to work with. And it's like, oh, wow, this is the third one of those. It's like, hey, Cindy, we got to really have a conversation here because people are talking about this on AI, which ultimately is lowering the likelihood of us ever being recommended. And as you know, if you're not in those two or three, you're basically
You're
invisible.
invisible, right? Like it used to be, you got to be on the first page on Google, and now it's like if you're not the first three, you're done. And
Right.
organic. Let me kind of go a different direction here. Where do you think the platforms are going to go? All these AI platforms are going to go from like seen some try to implement this so far, like paid search. Like, how's that going to look? Because there's so much importance on trust with AI in the sense of like you need to give me exactly what I want. What's your prediction on that? Because nobody really knows, but what's your prediction on that?
Yeah, I mean, so it's definitely coming, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the way to look at it right now is like you're kind of in a position where it's like the modern day gold rush because if you're one of the few people that's adopting this early, and
Hmm.
positioning yourself in a way where it's easy to recommend you. You've concentrated your efforts on the things that matter to the platforms, and you're creating relevant content ongoing. It's going to be difficult for anyone to take your spot. Like they have to basically outdo everything that you've done, and you've been doing it longer. Same as like a page one of Google, right? If you're like
Yeah.
dental implant, or full arch cases in Atlanta, like the guy that's number one there, he's doing pretty well organically.
Oh yeah. And I think
But
for a lot of people conceptually, this is the reason they understand the importance of this. Let's compare it to like the AI receptionist, right? That's kind of a new thing that they didn't have before, right?
mhm.
Um, this is more of like an evolution of what they kind of experienced with SEO, with Google, with the paid side. So it's a change, but it's similar in their minds, and I think that's why everybody I've talked to is like, yeah, I'm worried about this. I need to understand this. Like this to me at the All In AI Summit that you're going to be part of, like this is going to be a big topic. I can almost guarantee you that 30-40% of the questions are going to be on this specifically because there's so many people worried, especially brick and mortar practices who've recently experienced like PPC ads costing 3-4 times as much. It's hard to get found on Google now, like all these massive changes. So man, I'm a little jealous. I think you nailed this one at the right time and the importance of everything too.
And I
Um,
think that obviously OpenAI, Google AI, it's different because like OpenAI doesn't have any paid up until last week. They finally rolled
yeah,
out paid ads, and I was approved. I haven't even started any campaigns yet. I'll probably dabble in it just to kind of see
yeah.
what the
Man,
feel is.
I'm
I
actually
haven't seen
really
any yet.
interested.
Have you seen any
No, I
just in
haven't.
your?
I haven't. And I don't use. Oh, I'm primarily in Claude now, but I'll
Yeah,
throw
same.
chat in there to see. I'm interested to see how they look and the way it produces it. But guarantee it'll change fast too. They'll figure it out pretty quick. Of like,
Yeah.
does this
And
work
there
with this?
again, their whole thing is like, it's a pretty pivotal time period. Like they can't afford to get this wrong. Like they can't
Oh,
afford to lose. Look at how much market share they've lost, OpenAI, in the last
fast.
12 months. to Claude, right? Like I'm in Claude all day, every day. I still have a ChatGPT account, like the paid one, but like I use it more for just like kind of exactly what I'm selling here, which is like, hey, I'm looking for somebody that does this. Who should I call? Like, I do think it's probably better than Claude for
Yeah, I think
that.
so. Probably a Perplexity, a ChatGPT is probably better than Claude for that. Claude, I view it as more operational,
Right.
if
I
that
don't
makes
think
sense.
Claude's really worried about it. They're like,
No,
we've got everybody and their brother that wants to be developing agents and coding and copyright. I mean, you could literally use Claude for almost anything.
yeah, and
And
every day I check, there's some new thing, and I can't keep up with it. You know,
yeah, yeah,
it's
exactly. By the
wild.
end of this podcast, there'll probably be a new model out, and
Oh
and
yeah, for
and
sure.
this one is even better than the last. It's like the last one was pretty damn good. So
Yeah, no,
it's
I know. I look at all the old models. I'm like, oh, I can change this model I'm on, and I'm like, I have zero issues, right? Like they literally
yeah,
released one yesterday, I believe, Fable.
Fable.
Like,
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm afraid to try it because I'm like, I don't know what's going to be different. Like, that's where I'm at right now. Is like trying all these different models, design stuff, like playing
I
with
think for what you're
Higgsfield.
using it for, it's probably not going to be a huge
No,
difference.
I'm
Like
not trying
I
to create
from
3D environments and things like that,
exactly
right? But at least not yet. We'll
not
see.
yet. Right?
I'll
Yeah.
come up with a reason to do it. The only time I really use it, bro, is I'll jump on Higgsfield. Like I sent an inappropriate AI video to my business partner Blake on his birthday. I will not say what it is or how I did it, but just know that if you saw it, you would laugh. But
On Higgsfield too, you didn't get the little red thing like this is restricted content or something.
shockingly, no. I got one for putting a picture, trying to get a picture of Victor Wembanyama spinning a ball on his finger. But then I
Yeah,
get this one. It was like, go for it, man. And there was definitely some not safe for work content in there as well.
nice.
Uh, I'll send it to you
Well
later.
played. All right, sounds good.
But I definitely can't show it on here. Um, Let me ask you a few other questions. Like, where do you see? Let's stick to dental. Like, where do you see this all going with AI? And from like a bigger perspective, right? How do you see AI kind of integrating within offices? Obviously, your side of it to me is like the easiest conceptually, the no brainer. You've got to be found on AI search, but from an agentic side, like what problems do you think that it can solve, and how dental? How easy will that be to get ingrained into those offices?
Well, I think like the biggest hurdle right now, at least the way I can see it, is the integration piece into like the practice management software. Like there's some that are pretty open, like Open Dental obviously is by their by their
Yep.
default name.
Yep.
But then you've got some of these other guys that are just like so closed off. So things like the voice agent, even if it's a perfect, oh, I can't tell that this is not a person or it is, until you can actually do the things that a real receptionist can do without any hiccups, it's not going to have any kind of real adoption. If you're on a
Yep.
platform that has it, then then it's probably something you could look at. Obviously, like you've got like the scribe, that is a big thing now.
Yep.
There's some AI, X-ray, where it'll basically read the X-ray for you and identify things that you may not have seen. So like, there's a lot of really cool use cases. Which with these models, as they get better, I mean, it's only gonna, you figure like AI. It's not like AI just started a couple years ago. It's been around for a long
Yep.
time, but the computing power for them to develop the next model and the next model was like years apart, and now it's like
Yes.
weeks or days apart. And the
Yep.
models are very, it's like, oh, a new model. Like right now, we're just thinking, oh, it's just a new model. We just got one last week. Like that model is probably what used to take 3 years to actually be able to
Yeah.
upgrade to, and it's
100%.
happening in a couple days. And so as that stuff happens, there's going to be a lot more use cases that I think present themselves. A big thing that people ask me all the time is like, well, is my job safe? Like what, what's
Yeah.
going to happen to my job? And it's kind of like you got to think back. Like it's not necessarily eliminating everyone's jobs. It's just maybe you'll have a different role. And
Yeah.
so
Well,
like,
I think it can be used to enhance most jobs, right? There's so
right,
much bullshit that like your job, my job right now, that we're trying to use AI to get around the bullshit, the repeatable tasks that we don't like to do. So like within a dental office, insurance calls and this and that, like all these little tasks that are not why you signed up for this gig, right? Like
right.
I think there's I think there's going to be, yes, some people are going to be displaced in certain jobs, but I think overall, a lot of people are going to actually enhance their job. Now, will that turn into, oh, I've got more free time or I'm happier? Or it's like, well, now you have more free time or happier. Here's more things to do. I don't know. Right. That's probably dependent on where you're working and who you're working for.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not really scared of that side of it as much, at least not in the next year or two. Maybe later that
Yeah.
things we can't predict, who knows? But
I
I
mean,
think it could be enhancement.
the thing that well, not that I think, I mean, it's definitely going to happen, is that the goal of all of these platforms is they don't really want you to leave the platform. So, just like going back to, hey, I'm looking for a dentist near me, and it's going to give you those results, and it's going to have the source. Like, you could go to the website, but it's not really like a Google link, right? Like,
Yeah.
click the link, now I'm going to their website. And so I think that that's kind of the precursor to what's actually going to happen, where most people's websites won't be visited by people. They'll be
Yep.
visited by AI. And then AI is then
Yeah.
taking that information back and keeping the user in that one nice little chat box.
Yeah, you're right. I 100% agree with that. And I think there's going to be, you're already seeing this somewhat, but I think, especially in dentistry, I talked about this on the last episode too. I think there's going to be a centralized agent for every practice that's hooked up to every aspect of the practice, which for me is almost like an insurance policy. Susie's been here for 28 years. Susie knows everything and where everything is, but nobody else does. And so,
Right.
crap, Susie got hit by a bus, right?
Yeah,
Like,
now
what
what?
do we do, right? And I think that aspect to be able to run reports and have basically a CFO inside your practice or alert you to things, like I see that coming. I think the adoption will take longer conceptually for dentists than certain businesses, but I do think the smaller
Well, you got to
practices
think like this too,
will be the
like
easiest ones.
especially dentistry, right? Like, it's not just a business, right? Like, so the slowest adopters to the thing that you're talking about is going to be businesses. So, like from like a hierarchy level, like solo guy, maybe he's willing to try out like a open claw or paperclip or Hermes agent, where you're basically like, hey, here's what I want to do. I want to create all these different agents. I'm going to have a chief of staff. That guy's going to basically have the marketing person report to them, and then the operations and human resources. Like, you can have that. That's available now. But the
Hmm.
problem is like the security, the guardrails.
Yes.
OpenClaw, came out, and it's like it's open source, and I can't remember the exact stat, but it was something like 20% of all of the plugins and stuff had malware in it. So it's
Yep.
like, you're not going to be an enterprise level business or somebody who has HIPAA compliance standards ever using this until it's in an environment where it's
Correct.
safe to use. Once
That and
that's
it would just go
there,
do crazy shit sometimes. Like I had one buddy that spent like $3,000 overnight. He's like, "Whoa, shut it off, shut it off!" Like,
yeah,
what the hell just happened? Tokens left and right. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, but all right, before we kind of wrap this up, I want to ask you the hardest question I'm going to ask you right now, and I need you to just be honest as you can be. We are BioHorizons together. Who is better at selling implants?
Oh, absolutely you.
Oh, that's not where I thought that was going. I thought we
I
were
mean,
some shit here.
oh no, no. I mean, I give you that one. But like, you also were much. I mean, I don't know. You were much more into it than me. Like,
Oh,
don't get
I
me
was
wrong. It was a
all
cool.
implants all the
Yeah, you
time.
did. I mean, like, I feel like you would wear the shirt out
I
like an
did. I did.
implant, just so
I
people would see.
lived the
Like,
life. Looking back, you probably were smarter because you still killed it and you had a life.
yeah, see, that was my thing. I'm like, this is such a great job, and I mean, that's probably what
It
they
was pretty
quickly
sweet.
realized once, like, Henry Schein took over. They're like, there's a lot of people here making pretty good money, and I don't think they're doing a whole lot.
There's some guys working their butts out, dude. I've talked to some of those guys too. They're crushing it still. Some of those guys we
Yeah,
used
well,
to
look
work
at it. I
with.
mean, so I think I saw a post. Olivier down in Miami,
Yeah, they're Miami.
his region or whatever has like 4 million now
Bro,
in
I cut it at 2 million. I was like, I
they would
can't, I
cut
gotta
it.
cut this
Yeah,
in half. Yeah, there's like 4 or 5, maybe more guys doing 5 million plus. I'm like, I don't know how you do that, right?
well,
Like,
yeah, but I mean, that's a pretty
there's
good
no way
check
I
too.
could have done
You're
it.
getting.
Oh, I hope so. All right, man. Well, thanks for being on. But let's tell everybody again. So, where can tell them at the website so they can go get their audit done?
Yeah, so we do a free audit. Obviously, no credit card. You get your visibility score at Askable.dev. it'll at least give you like a benchmark. And the other thing I'd encourage everybody to do is just get your phone out, go on ChatGPT and type in, who's the best dentist near me, or who do you recommend for dental implants near me? Whatever your main specialty is, do that, because you're in a pivotal moment where if you do this the right way, you have an opportunity to basically take a market share from, it's essentially like being on Google when Google launched, because there's not a lot of people that are doing it right. And the stuff that we're like, our content that we're putting out is, like I told you before, highly optimized specifically for AI to pick it up. And we're seeing, like, in the first 30 days, an insane amount of crawlers that are training their models on the content, which is what you want, right? Like, the
Yeah.
models are going to train themselves so that when somebody asks this, here's my response. The next step is obviously human traffic, which, there's companies out here that say, like, I can guarantee you will get you number one on AI. Like, no one can do
I
that.
know yeah.
It's not
Anytime anybody
like Google.
guarantees me that, I'm like, you're a liar.
Yeah, there's no such thing. But we can position your content so that you are the one that they can easily recommend. Can't guarantee they're going to recommend you every time. Like, if you've secured that number one spot on Google for a certain keyword, you've got it until somebody takes you over.
Hmm.
If you've got a good mention rate, there's still no guarantee that every time somebody queries that, you're going to
Yeah.
be mentioned.
Well, I
But
actually
you
think
got
this is my guess. I actually think that the guys who are forward thinking, right, the ones who invested in SEO early and all of that, for this, even if they come up one right now, they're going to double down because they know I got to stay number one, because the importance of that is everything, because you got like a 90% click rate on number one, like an 8% click rate on number two, and a 2%
yeah.
click rate on number three. And so that's massive, right? So,
Well, and the thing
um,
that's really cool with dentistry is, like, the it's not like a person that's doing casual research, right? Like, oh, my roof is leaking and I'm just wondering what I should do to fix it. Like, that's a person that's probably early in the buying cycle of needing to replace
sure.
their roof.
Yeah,
Somebody
the
who's
intent
searching,
is high. You're
it's
right.
high intent. So it's like, these are people who are typically going to convert much faster than,
Yeah.
a variety of other industries. So if you can be that guy that's recommended consistently, it's going to the ROI is going to be incredibly good.
Yeah. No, that's a really great point that I didn't bring up ever before, but you're right. Super high intent search. Well, guys, make sure you go to Askable.dev, check out the audit. I was actually really impressed by it. At least at worst case scenario, you kind of know where you stand. But if you want to dominate in your market going forward, this is what you have to do. You have to be found on AI search. I don't think there's anybody who can argue with that. And the importance of that is not going to go away. It's only going to grow in importance. So, um, Mike, I think you're on the right spot. I think this is a great product. I'm excited for you to come to the AI workshop that we have on
Yeah, I'm
day three
excited
of the
about it.
Bulletproof Summit. Yeah, it's going to be, we're all going to be nerding out, right? In discussing
It's
stuff and
funny how,
figuring.
like, excited I am about this stuff, because, like
I
I said,
know.
I mean, it's just like, I know that it's got great product market fit, all that stuff, but, like, I'm excited about what I'm building. Like, it's a cool product, and to see the
Yeah.
results that we're getting this quickly, it's like, holy shit, it's actually doing what we thought it's going to do. Like,
Yeah.
usually it's like,
Which,
you kind of go through some stuff like, oh, it's not working, or, oh, we were wrong on this. It's like, no, this is definitely right on
oh, for
track, which,
sure.
again, your handy dandy AI agent that's basically super intelligence telling you what to build is helpful. So, we've done some deep research and understand the deep,
Well, let's
kind of
just be
roots of
honest.
how
Most
this
of these
works.
guys are running practices. Like, let's be honest. Like, could you get an agent to do it? Yeah, but you got to learn how to take the time to learn how to do that. And some people will, but I think it's a lot easier. Like, we reviewed some of the price points. I'm like, that's a no brainer for us. Like, they don't want to deal with it. They just want to be
Yeah.
number one, because I could spend all this time and resources trying to do it myself, and it would cost me thousands and thousands. Or I could do this and not have to put any more time in and get more patients from it immediately. Like, so, to me, it's a
Yeah.
no brainer.
Well, and it's
So,
kind of the time frame is now, right? Like, in 6 or 8 months from now, it's like there's going to be people that have already taken advantage of it. Now you're kind of chasing them.
yeah,
So
that's the
you
other
want to
thing
do it.
is the catch up game. It's an exponentially getting ahead. So it is,
Yeah.
the catch up game is even harder now than ever. Right. So
So
early adopters are going to win. You've seen it on every platform, social media, Google, YouTube, anything you look at, early adoption of this stuff, early implementation of the practices that they want pays off in everything we've
yeah.
seen over the last 20, 30 years. digitally.
And I'm happy to
So,
drop my Calendly link as well for you. If you just
yeah.
want to include it like in the show notes
Yeah,
or whatever.
so,
If anyone
go
wants to have
ahead.
a call just to chat, I mean, I'm fine doing that.
Yeah, send that to me. I'll drop it in the show notes. That way you guys I'll have a link to the website. But then if you want to just go ahead and schedule something, Mike is a lot of fun too. You'll have good conversations with him and knows a lot about a lot too. So, Mike, thanks for coming on. Always good to see
Yeah, man,
you.
appreciate you having me.
Of course, man. And we'll see you guys on the next All In Practice Growth podcast.
Thanks for listening to the All In Podcast. See you next time.